Before there were kings, before faith had names, there was only the world, silent, vast, and waiting. This is Birthright, a land where gods once walked beside mortals, and where their deaths left behind an inheritance of power. When divinity fell, fragments of that essence fused with mortal blood, granting strength and authority no human hand was meant to hold. In Cerilia, the right to rule is not taken, it is born. Before bloodlines shaped dynasties, before men built empires, the world belonged to the elder races. The forests were the domain of the Sidhelien, the timeless elves who wove living magic through leaf and wind. Beneath the mountains, the dwarves carved realms of fire and stone. Between the mortal realm and its reflection wandered the halflings, travelers of the shadow world, guardians of hidden paths. For ages they lived in balance, untouched by war. But across the southern sea a new race stirred, humankind, guided by gods of their own. Their coming would end the stillness. From Aduria they sailed, bearing faith, ambition, and the seed of change. And where mortals brought desire, one god watched and waited. Azrai, lord of deception and pride. It was he who would teach mankind to hunger, not only for life, but for power. So began the last age of the gods, and the first chapter of mortal dominion. Long before humanity arrived, Cerilia was a world of balance. Its mountains were unscarred by road or mine, its forests endless and alive with song. The gods observed distantly as their first children shaped the land. The Sidhelien, or elves, were the eldest and most attuned to Mabile, the living current of magic that flowed through all things. They grew their cities as extensions of the forest, not as monuments against it. Immortal and self-sufficient, the Sidhelien needed no gods. They believed themselves part of the world's own spirit. That pride would one day cost them dearly. The dwarves dwelt deep below, unyielding and tireless, their forges burning with sacred purpose. They worshipped through labor, their craft an echo of Moradin's creation. For centuries they waged hidden war against the Orogs in the depths, keeping the horrors of the Underdark from the world above. The halflings were wanderers between realms. They alone could pass into the shadow world, a twilight reflection of Cerilia once filled with light and calm. Over time that mirror darkened, twisting into a land of illusion and peril. The halflings fled to Cerilia, sealing many crossings, but never losing their connection to what lay beyond. Together, elves, dwarves, and halflings kept the world in harmony. Forest, mountain, and spirit in balance. For uncounted ages, peace endured without ambition. Then, from the southern sea, humankind arrived, and the silence of eternity began to fracture. Humanity's story began far from Cerilia, on the continent of Aduria, where 5 tribes rose under the guidance of their gods. The Andu, followers of Anduaris, sought honor and just rule. The Brecht, blessed by Sarah, prized freedom and trade. The Rulership, children of Rainier and Eric, lived close to the wilds. The Basagi, guided by Avanai and Masela, mastered desert and sea. And the Voss, once noble, fell to the whispers of Azrai. For generations these tribes prospered under their divine patrons, but Azrai's shadow spread through Aduria, offering dominion instead of faith. He taught men that power could be seized, that the gods' favor was a chain to be broken. The Voss were the first to fall, embracing cruelty and conquest, but others followed. The light of the gods dimmed, and the world tilted toward darkness. When the corruption became too great, the gods of light withdrew their faithful. The tribes who still resisted Azrai fled north, crossing the storm-tossed sea to an untouched land, Cerilia. This journey, remembered as the flight from the shadow, carried the hopes of humankind into a world not yet scarred by their ambition. At first, the elder races looked upon the newcomers with wary curiosity. But men multiplied swiftly, carving homes and farmlands where forests once stood. The Sidhelien, who had known neither birth nor decay, saw the rhythm of the world disrupted in mere decades. Curiosity turned to fear, and fear to war. The first blood spilled in Cerilia was not by the shadow's hand, but by mortal and immortal misunderstanding. Even amid that strife, the 5 tribes endured. They built fledgling realms, Aduria, Rajurikheim, Brektur, Vosgard, and Kinasi, each bearing the mark of its divine lineage. Yet in the east, Azrai's darkness gathered once more. His agents crossed the sea, and his voice whispered to mortals who longed for power. The shadow had found them again. Peace in Cerilia was fleeting. Across the sea, Azrai's dominion in Aduria grew absolute, and his reach extended through dreams and faith alike. His promises of strength seduced the desperate and the proud. Among the Vos, his creed became gospel, transforming an entire people into instruments of war. Elves and men alike began to sense the encroaching darkness. Creatures of the shadow world slipped into reality, drawn by Azrai's call. Where Mabahil once flowed pure, it turned black and unstable. The gods of light could no longer stand apart. Their silence had birthed catastrophe. At last, divine and mortal powers united. The 5 tribes, joined by elves, dwarves, and halflings, assembled under the banners of the gods to face Azrai's host. The final confrontation came at Mount Deismaar, where the sea met the sky. For 7 days and nights the war raged. Mountains split, oceans boiled, and the heavens themselves shuddered under divine wrath. In the last desperate moment, the gods of light unleashed their full power against Azrai. The mountain exploded in a storm of fire and radiance that ended the war, and the age of the gods. Azrai was destroyed, but so were nearly all who opposed him. The heavens fell silent, and the world was forever changed. When the storm at Deismaar faded, the battlefield was silent, save for the living. Few and forever altered. The divine essence released in that cataclysm fell upon mortals, fusing with their blood and transforming them into scions, vessels of divine power. From that moment, the gods' legacies lived within humanity. Halflin, once mortal champion of Aduria, rose as the god of rulership and honor. Eric became guardian of the wild. Ruonil took the moon and the mysteries of magic. Nesseri, daughter of Masela, ruled the sea and the sorrow of loss. Avani, heir to Basaya, shone as the goddess of reason and light. And among them emerged new powers: Cuiraisen, Leerm, and Eloele, divine echoes born from mortal lineage. Yet not all inheritances were pure. The remnants of Azrai's dark power twisted some into monsters, the Sidhelien, immortal abominations whose forms reflected their inner corruption. The Gorgon, the Spider, and the Lamia were born from this curse. Their opposites, the Sidhelien, embodied light and virtue, living proof that divinity still carried choice. The scions of the 5 tribes carried this sacred inheritance into the New Age, founding kingdoms shaped by their blood. The Andu, blessed by Halflin, would one day forge an empire. The Brecht, guided by Sarah, turned to commerce and freedom. The Kinasi, lit by Avani's flame, built realms of wisdom and magic. The Rurik, led by druids of Eric, ruled in balance with the land. Even the Vos endured beneath their cruel gods, children of Azrai's lingering curse. Centuries after Deismaar, Cerilia entered its first age of civilization. From the 5 tribes rose the great realms, bound by divine blood and human ambition. Foremost among them was House Roel, descended from Halflin's line, the dynasty destined to unite the West. From the heartland of Anuir, the Roels forged the Anuirian Empire, bringing law and order to the fractured realms. Their armies marched beneath the lion banner, conquering not for greed but for unity. Temples rose beside fortresses, and the Iron Throne became the symbol of both mortal rule and divine stewardship. For nearly 1,000 years, the empire stood as the pinnacle of human achievement. Faith and commerce flourished, and even distant lands paid homage to Anuira's strength. Yet no mortal realm could escape shadow. Beyond its borders, the immortal Gorgon ruled from his black fortress. Racine, the petrified half-brother of Halin and Roel, cursed by Azrai's blood. The Empire's final tragedy came when Emperor Michael Roel rode north to end the Gorgon's threat once and for all. Neither returned. With his death, the Empire shattered. Dukes and princes claimed sovereignty, each proclaiming divine right through blood. The Iron Throne remained empty, a monument to unity lost, and the eternal echo of the god's gift turned to mortal ambition. The War of Shadow ended, but its cost reshaped creation. The gods were gone, yet their power endured in mortal veins. Kings ruled by divine right, priests channeled the voices of the new gods, and wizards drew magic from the Meba Hill that flowed through the land. The bond between ruler and realm became sacred, a covenant of blood and destiny. But power breeds envy, and divine inheritance could not protect mortals from pride. The fall of the Anuirian Empire proved that even the heirs of gods are subject to the same flaws. In Cerilia, blood grants strength, but never wisdom. In the next episode, The Age of Bloodlines, we enter the world that rose from the ashes, a world of scions, regents, and ambition, where every drop of divine blood carries both the promise of salvation and the seed of ruin.